All right, folks, welcome to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Boy, do we have great news. We are so proud to welcome the National Concealed Carry Association as a 10-ring partner. NCCA exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing a nationwide network of Second Amendment advocates. Offers elite self-defense and concealed carry training from the nation's top instructors and provide rock-bottom prices on the best selection of gear and accessories. You can learn more about them at National Concealed Carry Association.com. Hey, folks, how would you like to learn to become a better self-defense with John Correa? Well, now's your chance at Cover Your ASP. That's ASP Week. It's in San Diego, and if you're a San Diego, Riverside, San Bernardino, or Orange County gun owner, check your email for discount codes. Each early bird discounts have been extended through the end of the year, and training makes great Christmas gifts. Links to register are at gunownersradio.com website. All right, so we are going to talk to, who's him?
We're going to talk to Dwight. Dwight from CO1. We're going to introduce Dwight from CO1, who's a brand new sponsor. We're going to talk to him in depth, but we just wanted to point out that he's here with us in the studio and say hello to him.
Yeah, we actually talked him into coming in.
Yeah. How you doing, Dwight?
I'm doing great, Mike.
Oh, we got to put a mic on you somehow.
Ah, here you go.
Share and share alike.
I'm good to be here, Mike. Good to see you.
Great. Good to see you. And CO1, one of our newest sponsors. And again, we're going to talk about Dwight and CO1 and have a really great conversation in just a couple of segments. But I just wanted to say hello. So everybody listening, we're live streaming on YouTube instead of Facebook. So join our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/gunownersradio. And you can actually watch live via YouTube. It's a little bit more stable than streaming live over YouTube. We're going to have links on everybody's Facebook page, San Diego, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino County Gun Owners. There's going to be a link to the YouTube. It's Gun Owners Radio, so youtube.com/gunownersradio. Just watch us live there. And while you're there, check out our very first episode of Gun Owners Radio Magnum, where we go a little bit more in depth with some of the interviews that we did. So last week, you remember we interviewed the Australian guy? Mm-hmm. So I did about an hour and change interview with him and got a little bit more in depth.
Oh, right. That's great.
Yeah. So Rich came up with the
technology,
with the term Gun Owners Radio Magnum, because it's a little bit more, right? It's a little bit more than the regular.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't that nice?
And you can listen to that at San Diego County Gun Owners.
You can listen. You actually go to youtube.com/gunownersradio. youtube.com/gunownersradio.
Okay.
And we're going to have, I don't know how often we're going to do it, but basically every time we can find a little bit, somebody
an engaging interview.
An engaging interview. We're going to go a little bit more depth, a little bit more. Rich calls it long form.
Well, because we run, even though we're doing 2 hours, it's still 2 pounds of salami in a 1 pound bag.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that was the other name we were considering.
I thought you should have used it, but that's not.
We went with
choice.
Magnum. I don't know.
Because a lot of times we get some really, really good interviews. And oh, by the way, did you see the email from Joel Anderson?
Which one?
He won.
Oh, of course. Saw that he won. Yeah, absolutely. So, Joel Anderson won by a couple hundred votes.
Congratulations to Joel. Yeah. But stop it. They've got a couple hundred votes. That's not much.
Well, people want to know, does the San Diego County Gun Owners endorsement work? Is it important to court gun owners?
Yes.
There were a lot of really tight races where
I think we won them all, didn't we?
Well, not quite all of them, not quite every single one that we endorsed, but Dustin Trotter we had on a couple weeks ago, he won by 5 votes and beat somebody who was decidedly anti-gun. So, and Melissa, you're going to do a gear review, right?
I am. I have a really good gear review going on. Alexo Athletic Pants.
I'm glad you can say that. I looked at that and I said, I can't say Alexo electrifying pants.
And then, of course, Joe's in the studio with us.
What you got, Joe, for us today?
So one of the, number 12 of the Concealed Carry Lifestyle series. So talking about paying attention a little bit, situational awareness and color codes.
And we have a really cool, what we're going to, I don't know if you saw last week, of course, everybody's talking about the newest shutdown, the newest COVID shutdown. We slipped into whatever color, whatever, puce or purple or whatever, and they're shutting everything down.
Tonight.
And there was a really fantastic video that was put out by Sheriff Chad Bianco, who's the sheriff of Riverside County. He put it out, I think, Thursday, but it was last week. And I wanted to play that clip because we're actually going to have him on in the next segment to talk about it. I thought it was outstanding. He's an outstanding sheriff, and his message here is really fantastic. So we're going to play that clip real quick. Brendan?
For all you YouTubers out there.
Hello, I'm Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. We have all recently learned of the new regional approach to combating COVID-19 and the pending closure and stay-at-home orders from our governor. We were also told there was a potential he would be withholding federal and state funding from counties who did not enforce the orders. Ironically, it wasn't that long ago our same governor loudly and publicly argued how wrong it was for the President of the United States to withhold federal funding from states not complying with federal laws. The dictatorial attitude toward California residents while dining in luxury, traveling, keeping his business open, and sending his kids to in-person private schools is very telling about his attitude toward California residents, his feelings about the virus, and it is extremely hypocritical. These closures and stay-at-home orders are flat out ridiculous. The metrics used for closures are unbelievably faulty and are not representative of true numbers and are disastrous for Riverside County. When the medical field is so split about this virus, it might be time to employ a little common sense. Keeping money and support from our hospitals, who are struggling with normal, seasonal increases in patients, coupled with COVID-19 patients, is irresponsible. It appears part of the new goal is to shift attention away from his and others' personal behavior with a do as I say, not as I do attitude by turning public opinion against California sheriffs. He is expecting us to arrest anyone violating these orders, cite them and take their money, close their businesses, make them stay in their homes, and take away their civil liberties, or he will punish all of us. I believe that all jobs are essential to someone. Leaders do not threaten, attempt to intimidate, or cause fear. Bullies do. As has been our position from the beginning of this pandemic, the Sheriff's Department is asking and expecting Riverside County residents to act responsibly and do what they can to protect themselves and their family from contracting the virus. Wear your mask and practice social distancing. While the governor's office and the state has threatened action against violators, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department will not be blackmailed, bullied, or used as muscle against Riverside County residents in the enforcement of the governor's orders. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a safe and Happy New Year.
Oofda.
That's a sheriff.
That's a real sheriff.
If you're out there listening right now and you're not standing up and applauding,
Then there's something wrong with
then
you.
there's something wrong with you, because that's talk about leadership.
Yeah, and we put that's on our Facebook page as well. I threw that up there the other day, and it was like lots of interest on there, so people were watching it.
That's amazing.
Well, Chad Bianco is coming on next. We have a packed show. We have a lot of really interesting guests, a lot of really interesting content, but I'm really looking forward to talking to the sheriff, and I really appreciate his leadership in all this. I mean, for someone to stand up, make a video, and push back on the governor like that, I think is outstanding, and I think it deserves to be heard. So I really wanted to make sure that we focused on it. I immediately reached out to him and said, hey, can you come on the show and talk about it? So we wanted to play you that clip and interview the sheriff, and so he's coming up next.
And share it every chance you get, folks. Share it to all your friends, relatives, the people on the left, the people on the right, because I think both sides really would like to hear this. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Well, this segment is sponsored by John Dillon and the Dillon Law Group. If you have legal matters that involve firearms, that you need to call John Dillon. If you have questions about red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you need to know that your guns are California compliant, call our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws. Call 760-642-7150 or you can visit his website at Dillon Law Group or GP.com. DillonLawGP.com.
So what did you think of the sheriff's statement?
I thought it was awesome.
Leaders do not threaten, attempt to intimidate, or cause fear. Bullies do.
Yeah. And I don't think we have him on the line, do we? We do. All right.
Excellent. Fantastic.
So,
well, I got to tell you, it was
an amazing speech. Amazing.
Truly was, Sheriff. And I think that it was such a fantastic show of leadership in a state that isn't well known for elected officials leading.
Yeah, leading.
So
thank you.
I just thought it was fantastic. I got to tell you, I deal with politicians all the time, elected officials all the time. And the wishy-washiness and the gee golly gosh, I'm afraid if I make an opinion known and people don't like it, that that it'll reflect badly on me. And for you to stand up and say, hey, look, this is how it is. I represent the people who elected me, and for you to call them out like that, I think was extremely brave. What was? Tell me your thoughts on it. What was the thought process on putting that video out?
Well, all along from the beginning of the pandemic, we found that me doing these videos was very receptive from our county residents. They liked seeing them. They liked hearing the message. And really, throughout the whole thing, it was they appreciated my honest, upfront, common sense approach. And so knowing, over the last 9 months that the rules keep changing, they decide, how they're going to shut it down, what the goals really are. If you remember, in the very beginning, this was supposed to last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And, a million Riverside County residents were going to die. So in the beginning, it was like, yes, I'm all for this. We need to do something. But over the last 9 months, we've all come to realize that I don't think this virus is as deadly as they say. Now, with that, I believe it does present its major problems with people that have other health issues. We lost 2 deputies, and that was tragic for our department. So there are people that say I have no heart and say that I'm killing people and that this is going to be worse and that I don't care about lives. But I do care about lives. I think that this is just not the right approach when this matrix, where they've come up with a new matrix that 135 people, right now we only have 135 people in ICUs in Riverside County that have to do with COVID out of 2.5 million people. So we're going to shut down the entire county, close businesses. 2.5 million people have to stay in their house because 135 people are in the hospital with COVID.
Right.
It doesn't really make sense. But then the real issue comes to me, for me, is there was so much that went into this. It just isn't about this virus. Over the last year, the governor has released 20,000 inmates, roughly, maybe a little bit more than that, back into our neighborhoods for nothing. He does not believe in incarceration. Our legislature is making it extremely difficult for law enforcement officers to do our job and keep people safe. And so we're being forced to accept all of these real criminals into our neighborhoods, and then they expect us to make criminals out of business owners and waiters and waitresses and hair salon owners and nail, men and women. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And they want law enforcement in a time where we are doing our absolute best to build bridges with the community, to fix relationships, to mend relationships. They want us to be the muscle, the arm of that enforcement of closing businesses and making people stay in their house. And we not only do we not have the money or the personnel to do it, I just think it's the wrong thing to do.
Well, and you have been, and for those who don't know, you were just elected just a couple of years ago, and you actually ran against an incumbent who'd been there for a while and wanted to stay there a little bit longer, and you really just blew the tires off and said, hey, you know what, there's some things I want to change, there are things I believe in, and people responded to it. And when we started Riverside County Gun Owners about a year ago at our first event, we made sure to invite you because you'd have done so much to improve a lot of things, but especially one of the things we care about a lot, which was the CCW program. And you didn't just talk about it, you actually did it. You were in office for just a couple of months and people started seeing huge improvements. And this has been an enormously tough year for someone who's in their second year of being sheriff. And you haven't backed down. You haven't compromised your principles. I've watched you, build bridges and talk to different communities, and are very respectful of the people that live in Riverside County. But you don't compromise your principle, and you are a leader. And I think that that leadership, I think you probably influenced some other sheriffs, because after you sent out that video, there were some other sheriffs in California that followed suit. And I don't know how much communication you guys have with each other, but I think that's the benefit of leadership. And I don't know if other sheriffs are, I don't know if you guys get together and say, hey, what are you going to do? Let's get together and do the same thing. But it certainly seems that your leadership paid dividends.
Yeah, early on we talk. I mean, I'm friends with my neighboring sheriffs, Orange County, San Bernardino, San Diego, Los Angeles. I text with them. We talk. But early on in this, we all came to the agreement, not necessarily agreement, it was just our own personal opinions and how we were going to lead our organizations, that we did not feel that this was law enforcement's role to be enforcing this when we had a regular job to do, when we're still handling crime, we're still fighting crime. So for the most part, there hasn't been any law enforcement agency that has gone on the enforcement side. There have been some instances where there has been citations issued, and some of those have made the news. But overall, we're pretty much on the same page. So them coming out, I don't think I influenced it. I think that they believed that anyway. What I will say is I may be just a little bit more vocal than what others are, and a little bit more reserved. I think they still feel the same way I am. Sometimes I can't control myself and keep it in. So, that it gets out there a little bit more. One thing that you mentioned earlier about politicians, I think that my appeal and why this went so far and why I've had such success over the last several months is people just want the truth. They want to be treated like adults, and they want to be told the truth. And when that happens, they're more likely to side with you, to do what you would like them to do, rather than know that they're being lied to and try to be convinced to do something they may or may not want to do. You just lose that respect. So I certainly, while I am an elected official, I certainly will never be a politician. What you see with me is what you get. I hope that everything I do comes across as ethical and in the best interest of our residents, and that won't change. I guess that's who I am, and that certainly won't change.
And I think that's awesome. Now, one of the other than law enforcement enforcing these these COVID restrictions, one of the things the state has in their toolbox is pulling licensing. Every job that you have to, they have just about every business that you open, you have to have it seems like a very specific license, whether you're painting nails or whatever you're doing. Bars, restaurants, alcohol, license, food license, that sort of thing. One of the threats has been that, hey, if you don't comply and if the sheriff won't send somebody to arrest you, then we'll just pull your license and you'll be out of business permanently. What are your thoughts on that? Is there a way around it? Is that a realistic threat?
Is it legal?
I think it is a realistic threat. The legality, I don't know. I think that's why we employ attorneys, because half of them agree and half of them don't, and that's what they get paid for, is to argue their point. I don't know if it would be legal or not, but certainly that threat and that consequence is real. And while I don't know anyone personally that has had a state license revoked. I've heard that they have, with cosmetology, especially with barbers and with nail salons and with hair salons. So liquor licenses, that is a state regulated license. So anything like that, they certainly could take that from you.
That's scary. That's scary business.
It really is. It is.
And I've talked to some of the county supervisors who said, yeah, we'd love to, not comply. And so, even some of the DAs, although, down here in San Diego, our DA tried to make an example of a gym owner in this little, town in Ramona. And a lot of people talked her out of it, and said, no, this is not going to happen. I say talked her out of it. That's not exactly what happened. They got irate and said, this is ridiculous. This isn't why we supported you. But that's a real scary consequence where even some of the county supervisors who are saying, yeah, we want to push back, but who's going to step up first and say, all right, well, I'll risk my entire livelihood, my entire licensing to get rid of it. It's really, really terrifying. Now, have you thought about, maybe it's way too early, but there's an election coming up in 2 years. Is there a governor? Are you shopping for a candidate or?
No, I have my own election in 2 years, so no. I'm right now. I'm worrying about my election and making sure that I'm doing everything what I should be doing for our Riverside County residents, so they keep me going in this position. So. I've seen all of the comments and heard all of the talk, but I'm not quite sure that's for me.
I don't blame you. Keep up the good work. Keep doing what you're doing, because the city of Rivers, or the county of Riverside, the city of Riverside really, really needs a sheriff with your mindset. And just know I've gotten already, I can't tell you how many little texts and what have you, just saying they listened to it, they seen the video, and said you had a big set. And that's about all. That's about all I can say about that. It continued, but I'm going to leave it at that.
Yes, I've been
he doesn't know what to say to that.
What can you say? I think it's a pretty good compliment, personally, if you ask me.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, and we'd love to have you on down the road and tell us how things are going in Riverside.
Of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Wow.
You guys keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to take a quick break. This is Gun Owners Radio, FM. Well, the California assault weapon law makes it almost impossible to own an AR-style rifle. What's the solution? Buy a Cali Key for your rifle. Cali Key converts any mil-spec direct impingement AR-15 or AR-10 into a bolt-action rifle so it can have all the features without being considered an assault weapon. It's a true drop-in solution. No milling, no aesthetic modifications, and no turning off your gas system. Keep your entire AR collection intact at a price you can afford with Cali Key. Check out Cali Key at CaliKey.com. That's KALIKEY.com. All right, who's our next guest?
Our next guest, if you've paid any attention to the Second Amendment world and done any reading at all, you're going to know who Dan Waz is. He's the author of Good Gun, Bad Guy, and we had him on the show here today to talk to him about his book and then some other things that are going on in the Second Amendment world. How you doing, Dan?
Hey, how you guys doing down there in San Diego? I'm up here in New York, freezing to death.
Well, we're doing good. We're definitely.
It's freezing here. I think it's like 64.
Seriously,
Stop it.
I almost didn't wear flip-flops to the station today. It was that cold. But
Oh, you guys are killing me.
are you in New York City or upstate?
No, upstate. We're about 3 hours up north of New York City in a city called Saratoga Springs. We're known for the harness track, the racetrack.
Yeah.
Nice place. We're right just south of the Adirondack Mountains. Beautiful, beautiful landscape up here.
So you wrote an awesome book, Good Gun, Bad Guy. But let's back up before you even got to writing the book. What's your interest in guns? How did you get involved in the Second Amendment world?
I'll give you the bullet points and make it quick. My father raised me to be familiar with guns, so we went hunting and target shooting and stuff like that when I was a kid. So I was familiar. I was not afraid of guns. We had fun with them. It wasn't my thing. I was a guitar player, so I toured in rock bands most of my life. Guns just wasn't my thing until. And I should back up a little bit. While I was playing in bands and touring through the 80s and 90s, I was hanging out with what I call the wrong crowd. Hanging with the wrong crowd. They weren't bad people. They weren't bank robbers or any drug dealers or anything, but they were anti-gun liberals. And that started to permeate my thought process, thinking guns are bad. And I was surrounded by this anti-gun messaging. And I started to go anti-gun, and I really did. And it was really a kind of a strange thing because I'd known that guns were not dangerous if they're used properly. So anyway, fast forward, my wife and I are coming out of a late-night movie theater years later, and we had a run-in with this guy. And I tell the whole story in Good Gun, Bad Guy in detail, but the end result was we ended up at the car unharmed, but it was enough to shake me up and make me realize that my thought process on guns was backwards. It was twisted. It was wrong, and it was because I had been indoctrinated, so to speak. I had been convinced of something that wasn't true. I told my wife that night, I'm getting a gun. Because my job as a man, as a husband, as a father, is to be able to protect my family. And that night, I didn't think I would have been able to do it. So everything changed. It was one of those, moments of clarity where you realize the way you thought about a particular topic was completely wrong. And so I went on to start researching, and I started looking at holsters and handguns and safes, and we went through the whole process, the whole concealed carry process, brought my wife right along with me.
Dan, what did she say when you told her you're going to get a gun?
She came from a non-gun owning family, so she was very apprehensive. She was actually scared. And what I tell my friends is, if you have a spouse that's not on board, get them on board because it's for their best interest, and it's not necessarily something you will negotiate. I won't negotiate the safety of my family with someone due to their fear of guns.
So you're dragging her around with you.
You know what the funny thing is later on, now obviously we have guns in the house, and she's been comfortable with it now for a while. So it's funny though, because we could be in a situation in a location that might not feel so safe to her, and she'll say, she'll nudge me. She'll give me a little nudge with her elbow and say, "Are you carrying?" And I tell her the same thing. Am I in the shower right now? You should know the answer to that. And she always feels much safer and much better now. So life has changed for the better.
Oh, what a way!
I get that same question, and I have that same answer. So, so it's a common thing.
So I guess you weren't touring with Ted Nugent.
No, I'm not touring. I have some friends who have, but
no, I mean he wasn't one of the ones clearly that was. I think it's interesting that some of the rock and roll guys you were touring with were some of the anti-gun guys.
Mike is a big music fan, so his eyes lit up when you said you were touring, and I know he wants to know who you were touring with.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I toured in a band called U.S. Bandit in New York City. We toured East Coast, mostly East Coast stuff. I toured in a Kiss tribute band, believe it or not. For a long time, mostly East Coast stuff. I was out in Hollywood for a little while doing some stuff, but kind of semi-pro rock bands, club bands, bar bands.
What'd you play?
Stuff like that. I play guitar. Right. Guitar has been like a third arm to me for my entire life. It's just part of me.
Well, I just always find it interesting because when I was growing up listening to a lot of the rock bands I was listening to. They seem to be, pro-gun. That's kind of where some of my pro-gun, opinions came from. Yeah, that and of course the movie Red Dawn. But then growing up, a lot of them have turned out to, be the opposite. But I don't know. There's enough out there where we actually interviewed Billy Sheehan. He's a big pro-gun guy.
Awesome guy. I met Billy a couple of times. Yeah.
And but it's just amazing that some of the music that came out in the 80s and 90s that was kind of anti government control, and yet here we are 20, 30 years later, and they're many of them are very in favor of more government control when it comes to a Second Amendment right. I was always extremely disappointed. I'd see like Chris Cornell doing a fundraiser for an anti-gun initiative or whatever that, and it's just heartbreaking. I thought, how you guys are the ones that taught me in my youth about rights and standing up to the big guy, and then I don't know.
So you shattered their records.
Yeah, well, I didn't.
Well, and just by the way, Billy Sheehan comes from New York. He came from, I think it was from Buffalo, a band called Talus, if you guys know Talus. Killer band. I mean, High Speed on Ice. They had some great songs. Then he went on to play with David Lee Roth and stuff, and Mr. Big and all sorts of stuff. So Billy Sheehan, I've always been a huge fan of Billy Sheehan. But then there's guys like Motley Crue. I was always a big Motley Crue fan, and then to see Tommy Lee come out with his left-wing rhetoric, it's really disappointing because I love the guy. But
so what was the catalyst to make you write the book? What finally, you're going through this journey. You had an incident. You brought your wife along. You did a bunch of research. But what was the catalyst to actually write the book? What made you go, you know what, I got to get this message out?
It was that night, and it was recognizing the fear of guns and how irrational it was. And it's a strange thing the way our subconscious minds can be influenced by our surroundings, by our environment. We are who we hang out with. We are who we surround ourselves with, and that's what happened to me. So it was that fear of guns that I knew was false because I had experience from when I was a kid. If I didn't have the experience with my dad, things may have been different. But I had that solid foundational experience, but yet I was still convinced that guns are bad. So it was that fear, that irrational fear of guns that caused me to write an article called Fear of Guns. And it got picked up. It was just an article that I wrote. I'd never written a thing in my life. And I wrote this article called Fear of Guns, got picked up by a bunch of websites and stuff, and it turned into the first chapter of Good Gun, Bad Guy. And then that book went on to practically write itself as I went on to learn about the propaganda and how the left-wing media infiltrates society with this anti-gun messaging and the strategies they use and the mindset of the anti-gunners. What actually goes on in their minds, we don't realize it all the time, but they're scared to death of guns, and they hate gun owners because they believe that we are intentionally and recklessly putting everyone in danger. This is their truth, as they say, and it's so delusional, and it's so twisted and so backwards. But I knew it because I saw it from that perspective. So the first book, Good Gun, Bad Guy, I just practically wrote itself. Then the second book was written, talks more about the media's influence in the process. And then Good Gun, Bad Guy 3 came out. And to me, I think that is the cream of the crop because it talks about the politics behind the gun grab and why politicians are behind anti-gun legislation. What they're really going for.
Well, what are they really going for? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, they're going for control. I mean, these socialist Democrats are not out to help anybody, as much as they might say. But they can't. See, they were supposed to have already implemented socialism, but they never got the guns. They weren't able to get the guns. They've been trying for decades, but they weren't able to do it. It started with the 1994 assault weapons ban that sunsetted 10 years later. That was going to be their foot in the door of banning guns and killing the Second Amendment, but they weren't able to do it. So now, fast forward to 2019, 2018, 2020, and you got Ocasio-Cortez and her gang of radicals voicing their actual intentions in public. And Democrats are saying, wait a minute, shut up. Don't be talking about that. We never got the guns. So the fact is they're trying to implement socialism in America, but they never did get the guns. And they were supposed to, and they've been trying for decades.
Part of the problem, I mean, in 2000, we had 8 years of a president who was a former Texas governor. Supposedly pro-gun Republicans controlled the House and the Senate. And what did it get us? I mean, they allowed the assault weapons ban to sunset, and they didn't replace it, and that's fantastic. But what did they do to really protect our rights going forward? I mean, it was like they did absolutely nothing. Next thing you know, we have a bunch of anti-gunners taking over the House and the Senate, and then Obama was absolutely no friend to guns. But as long as we continue to allow nothing to be okay, You know, we're going to continue to get beat by the anti-gunners who never allow nothing to be okay. They're all, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get elected, and then we're going to do it. Where the pro-gunners, typically Republicans, say, hey, elect us because the other guy's so much worse. And then we get into office, and they're a potato. They do absolutely nothing. What can be done? How do we hold their feet to the fire? What do you think?
Well, I think we definitely have to keep speaking out and I think we're getting stronger. I think what's happening is Republicans right now during this Trump era are really becoming strong. And you see the rallies, you see the unity, you see the people coming out and saying, hey, we're not going to take this crap anymore. We're not going to let you steal an election. We're not going to let you do all this stuff. So I think it just took a while because Republicans, we don't want to fight. Like, hey, leave us alone. Just leave me alone. I got my Constitution, my Bill of Rights. Don't mess with it. And let me do whatever the heck I want to do. As long as I'm not hurting anybody, just go away.
Right.
But Democrats don't want that. Democrats want you to do what they want you to do. And they're intent on fighting for it. So now, I think the good news is now Republicans are finally waking up. Conservatives are waking. I should say conservatives are waking up because not all Republicans are like that. But most conservatives are willing to fight now, and it's a beautiful thing. I love watching. I love the flags flying, and I love the unity, and I love people getting out in the streets and saying, "Hey, we're not going to take this crap anymore."
Well, how do people find your books?
Yeah.
GoodGunBadGuy.net or GoodGunBadGuy.com.
All right. That's all we needed to hear. All right. Keep up the good work and tell your wife
Guys,
you're packing. It's okay.
Thanks so much. She already knows. I appreciate it. Thanks, fellas.
All right. You take care. Hey, folks. Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1. All right, folks. Hey, Seal One is our newest sponsor, and we can't be happier. Seal One CLP Plus is an all-in-one solution that cleans, lubricates, and protects your guns. It's also natural, non-toxic, and environmentally friendly. Seal One was founded by a Navy SEAL here in San Diego, and all their products are made in the USA. Seal One is also a strong supporter of SDCGO, so we are very proud to have them on board. Clean your guns faster, better with Seal One. Get some on their website at seal1.net or your local gun shop. And if they don't have any, tell them to get you some. All right, we got an in-house Dwight Settle. He is from Seal One, and he's a 10-ring sponsor. Dwight, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dave. Great to be here. Mike?
Excellent. Thanks for coming. Appreciate all the help you give us.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon to see Dwight at our shooting socials, teaching people how to shoot, and volunteering on all kinds of stuff for San Diego County Gun Owners. So thank you so much, Dwight.
My pleasure. Glad I can help out.
So tell us the history of Seal One.
Seal One is a product that's bio-based, non-toxic. My business partner, Scott Lee, he actually developed the product, and he'd made many products in the gun industry in the world, that especially in the black powder side. So if you're familiar with now I'm not even a bore butter, Wonder Lube.
Yeah.
He developed all those products and made them for, other people.
Is he a chemist?
Not really.
Sitting in the kitchen on his wife's stove making up this stuff. Okay.
Yeah. But he just decided, he goes, look, there's got to be something that you can use that won't kill you while you clean your firearms. Because firearms have been around a lot longer than petroleum has.
Sure.
So he just started, playing around, and from the bore butter and then through the years finally came up with this formula, which is when I met him a little over 10 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just playing with the product, and I really felt that I kept my guns clean, And so first time I did, and it was like I would take out my SIG 226, take it out, clean it, even though I hadn't been shooting it, just to keep it clean and make sure it's not rusting or anything. So it was clean. First time I used this product, my gun was not clean. And I was like going,
I thought it was clean.
Yeah, I was, wait, dude, So it just really intrigued me. So I started talking with him, and he goes, I've got this. So we went into business together.
Sure.
And we have another, so there's three of us, Tony Payne, myself, and Scott Lee. And Tony Payne and I met in the Philippines in 1981. He was a Marine, and I was a SEAL. Tony was one of the few Marines. There was one of the street bars there in Magsaysay in the Philippines. And when 4 more SEALs showed up, the Marines would leave, and then it just kind of became our bar for a couple hours, and then we'd leave. We'd let Tony stay, though.
You give it back to him.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things that happened.
It's like how you start in the garage.
Yes. Yeah.
And next thing you know, now you have a multi-billion-dollar corporation. I'm not saying you do, but
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it sounded to me like it was just passion more than anything. There had to be a better way.
Right. Exactly. And so now it's, it was like, hey, let's get this out there and
see what happens.
Start spreading the word. And because there really is nothing out there like this. There's a lot of great products out there and a lot of different products. And I tell you what, if I'd have known how many lubricants and cleaners were on the market when I got into this,
you wouldn't have done it.
Right. It might have been a little different. But see, where ours is different is like when I'm at shows, and I do a lot of law enforcement shows, especially when we first started. The first 3 years, it was on the road going to just law enforcement, and getting the word out that way, because it's just 3 of us, so didn't have.
Law enforcement would be the best way to go versus the general public, because if you can get the law enforcement on board, the rest of it will be fairly easy.
That's right. And a lot of the law enforcement guys, not all of them, and it's a lot more in the sheriffs, but we also went after a lot of the SWAT teams and all, because they do a lot of the shooting. Your average police officer, unfortunately, does not shoot that often. There's police officers out there that will only shoot once a year qualifying.
Because they have to.
Correct.
Right.
So that's the sad part, but that's not about gun cleaning. That's just something that, it's sad.
So Dwight, you were talking about how the Seal One is bio-friendly, which I think you indicated that means it's not petroleum based.
That's correct.
And most solvents out there are petroleum based, right?
The majority of them petroleum, or yes, a lot harsher form.
And they are harsh, man. My wife hates it when I bust out the hoppies. Oh my gosh, I get in so much trouble. It's rough stuff, man. So, but Seal One is not made from petroleum, and it cleans and lubricates. Or do you have 2 separate products? Is it a solvent and a lubricant, or is it 2 separate products?
It's a solvent, a lubricant, and a cleaner, and preservative, basically, all in one product.
Wow.
So you'll put it on your firearm. You cover each piece inside and out, the bore, everything. When you field strip it down, you cover each piece with it. And it takes about 3 cleanings, and I like to say it's a clean shoot, clean shoot, clean shoot, so that you're not just cleaning and then not using it, but you can go out and use it. So if you take the first time you use it, if you start with a clean gun, you're going to be amazed, like I was, to see how much carbon and all is still coming out. And then just go shoot again, and then that second time you're seeing that it's going much easier than what you're used to. And pretty soon it gets to a point of where after the 3rd time, we like to just say, it's wipe on, wipe off, wax on, wax off, like Mr. Miyagi. And because it is that easy. The carbon, copper, lead, nothing is sticking. It's just wiping off much easier. You don't have to scrub on your ARs, the bolt face and the firing pin. You got the carbon that builds up on there, and you typically have to take a, some type of metal to scrape it off.
Chisel.
Yeah. And with ours, you won't have to do that. It's just going to wipe right off.
Now, do you have to disassemble the gun completely to use it?
Well, when you clean it, you should.
Yeah.
And
You're never going to be able to do it.
And you just, I'll lose all the springs.
All the springs.
So you just take
no, I'm just talking field stripping.
Yeah.
Like you normally, like you're taught in the military, field strip it down, clean it. So no, you're not doing the, like your gunsmiths and all.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So just put it on a patch, wipe it down, and then clean patch, wipe it off, and you're good to go. Is that generally the idea?
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's real simple, and then you don't need any other product, and it's
not
done.
Greasy, and doesn't leave a residue.
No. Well, it is so slippery that you'll wipe it, but you'll feel it, and when you wipe it all off, your firearm is dry, but it's lubricated. Okay, so you'll put it on and you wipe it off, and you'll feel there's something there. The biggest thing that happens is people don't feel that they get to remove everything, so they're used to leaving lubricant on there, so they do. And it's okay until you get in a real cold environment, especially if you've left it on thick and it's gotten into the firing pin, which would on a striker fired, then you might have the problem. But if you're not coating it in there, it would be really hard to get in there, but wipe it all off.
Let me guess. You have a video on your website that shows you how to use it.
Yes, we do.
You know how good I am? Because that's the name of the game nowadays, right?
Yes, it's
when in doubt, go to the video.
Yeah, it's a 4-minute video there on our you can find it on our Facebook page and all.
Okay.
Seal1.net.
And just about every shop in town that I know of carries you guys. So if they, like I said in the commercial, if you walk into your favorite shop and they don't have Seal 1,
Yell at them. That's right.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Mike.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Yeah, it's great having you on board. I might.
You might clean your guns for.
Well, I might go shoot them now.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
Now that you know you can clean them.
Now that I know I can clean them, but I don't have to. I hate cleaning. I'm going to hire somebody.
Melissa.
right.
She's better at it.
That's even better. I'll let Melissa clean it. She'll clean anything.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, folks, this is Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1. All right. Well, self-defense and emergencies can happen to anyone, and unfortunately, the justice system may not be on your side. If you have taken training, then you know you should have covered for the legal battle for your self-defense battle. While you protect your family and property, U.S. Law Shield is here to defend you 24/7, 365 days a year with a comprehensive self-defense coverage at an affordable price. Bad guys don't take days off, and neither does U.S. Law Shield. Guess what? Gun Owners Radio listeners get a free T-shirt when you join. That's right. Use promo code Gun Owners Radio at uslawshield.com and get yourself a cool T-shirt.
That's right. And just a reminder, we're live streaming on YouTube instead of Facebook. So join our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Gun Owners Radio. And while you're there, check out our first episode of Gun Owners Radio Magnum, and where we interview an Australian about gun ownership.
And Mike really likes that Magnum, so go for it.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Jamisi, what have you got for us today?
So got a the 12th of the Concealed Carry Lifestyle series. Remember, we started this way back in, I think February was the first one, and the idea was, we've got so many more new concealed carry people out there that I thought, okay, let's do a series of articles. Maybe every couple of weeks we'll do another one that's specifically targeted at new concealed carry people, because there's so much to learn. You know, the gun and the permit are kind of the easy part. There's so many other things that you have to learn, and you should learn anyway, to do this. And I noticed today it's December, and this is the 12th one, so we're more or less right on schedule here. So that was
the 12 days of CCW.
That was a nice realization. So this week, what the article is about is
situational awareness
and color codes. So situational awareness. One of the big things I always talk about too is the need for training and to learn as much as you can with this. And I think gun owners, a lot of times, just gun owners in general, don't maybe take as many classes as they should, or read or learn as much as they should. And I always encourage people to do that for a lot of reasons with firearms, but especially if you're going to carry concealed and you're going to be carrying a loaded gun around with you, you really need to to embrace it, what I call the concealed carry lifestyle. It's someone was talking today on the way in. We were talking about, somebody asked, do you guys carry every day? And pretty much like Dan, the guest we had here a couple of segments ago, is, yeah, if I'm not in the shower, I'm pretty much carrying.
You don't shower carry?
And not yet. No, not yet. But
you got the product that'll get it nice and clean. You can do that.
Well, I'm always looking for holsters, so maybe we'll check that out. But, people should be learning that kind of stuff. And when you talk to instructors, a lot of people that are knowledgeable about this, the gun is kind of the last resort. What you should be trying to do is everything you could possibly do to avoid getting in a situation where the gun is your only option, where you have to do something like that. So along those lines, we talk about situational awareness. And it's not, it sounds like a techie military term or something like that, but really what it means is paying attention to what's around you and who's around you, and being aware of that kind of stuff. And, when you look at, like I always talk about John Correa's videos, I think John's got some of the best source of information or education that's absolutely free. Every day he puts a new video on there, and it's a video of actual crimes that are going on. And John breaks them down and analyzes them, and he looks at, what did the good guy do wrong? What did he do right? What did the bad guy do? And just a great source of information. But if you watch John's things, he'll talk about transitional spaces. And what transitional spaces are just areas that the public has access to. Things like convenience stores, gas stations, anything like that.
Malls.
And and you just need to be aware when you're out there. And that's the situational awareness part. He had a video today where it was from LA, actually. And it was two guys walking down the street, and it was, fairly nice looking neighborhood. I mean, it didn't look all ratty. There were cars going back and forth. It wasn't deserted in the middle of the night or anything. And two, looked like maybe in their 20s, something like that. One guy's playing on his phone, looking down at the phone. The other guy's got his hands in his pocket and looking down at the street. And they're walking, and this car pulls up, and the doors open up, and these two guys run out of the car toward them. And there's other cars behind this car just driving around them. And, the idea is nobody's going to help you. You're your own first responder. But these guys weren't aware of anything until these other two guys were right on them. And they chase down the one guy, and they start beating on him. The other guy stands there, doesn't help his buddy, doesn't run away, just stands there. So the driver gets out of the car, comes over, and they rob him. And, being aware of what's around you is what's going on, because lots of people go out there and they're just not paying attention. And, you'll hear, if you read accounts like from crime victims and things like that, one of the things you hear often is, he came out of nowhere, and criminals don't come out of nowhere. They're predators. They go through a process just like other predators do. And, you've got to be selected. They have to get close to you, and then they do their thing. So a lot of times if you're aware of stuff, you can spot that kind of behavior and in enough time to get away or to get yourself deselected.
So how do you explain to somebody, and I've actually heard this a lot from people that aren't real familiar with certainly not CCW lifestyle. What's the difference between situational awareness and paranoia?
Well, seeing that gets more into the color codes that we're going to talk about, and those come from Colonel Cooper. And if you get into the color codes, we have white, yellow, orange, and red. And in the condition white, they describe your level of awareness or your mental condition at the moment. People in condition white are pretty much oblivious to everything that's around them, like the two guys that were walking down the street. You're not alert. You're not paying attention. It's probably not ever appropriate out in public to be at that level. It may be appropriate if you're sitting on your couch watching TV or something like that. But that's condition white. Lots of people walk around that way. If you get used to observing people, it's actually fun when you start doing this kind of stuff, because when you watch people are really entertaining. And if you're at the level you're supposed to be at, then you're watching that. You get to see a lot of stuff. So that's level white, where nobody should be. The code yellow, when you're there, that's a level of, they describe it as relaxed alertness. So this is not paranoid, head on the swivel alertness. It's just doing things like not being on your cell phone, not looking down, kind of looking around, just noticing who's there. So they have that as code yellow or condition yellow. And then condition orange is when you've actually spotted something that could be a problem. And I'll do this from time to time. We've all hopefully done this, where you're outside and you see somebody that just looks a little different, and I say, okay, probably not a problem, but I'm going to just keep an eye over there anyway. And that's the condition orange. So you've seen something that could be a problem. And then his condition red, or the code red, is where you've actually seen something, it now is a problem, and you're ready to do whatever it is you need to do. So those are kind of the 4 conditions.
And if you're a ninja like me, you have the ability to be in condition orange while appearing to be in condition white.
There you go.
That's ninja, right?
Using the force. And, there's another a book called Left of Bang. I don't know if we've talked about that on here before. Guys that train people in the military, but they've transitioned it over to civilians. And they train you to kind of look for things that are out of place, because that's how they train the soldiers and things like that are dealing with terrorists. They're dealing with people that aren't in uniform that could hurt them. And again, you could train yourself to do that out in the civilian world. Just notice things that don't look right, that don't fit. So
truly, when I worked downtown, I worked downtown in the NBC building, which is no longer the NBC building, but they had a bunch of hotels around. And on my lunch break, just to go decompress, I'd go sit in the lobby of a hotel and just watch people, and the conversations you heard and the things you watched people go through when they're checking in and out of a hotel is fascinating.
Well, it makes life better. It's more, it's just more fun to be out there if you're paying attention.
Things you overhear, it's like, geez. Well, I thought it was, as always, Joe, excellent content. I thought it was fantastic. I think you do it. Truly some of the best Second Amendment content on the internet, and I really appreciate everything you write.
Well, great. And, if it just helps a couple of people, I mentioned Tom Given's book in there, too, the Concealed Carry Class. That's a great soup-to-nuts reference for people that are new to it, or, people that have been doing it for a while. Just lots of good information there. People should always seek that stuff out.
This is a great show, man. We got a sheriff, a rock star, a SEAL, and a Dramisi.
I know. What more could you ask for? And don't forget, we got the Lee.
Well, that's what Melissa's coming up next.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. This is Gun Owners Radio. Home mortgage interest rates have really, really dropped. And if you're looking to buy or refi, or if you're considering a reverse mortgage, call our local mortgage guy that you can trust. Call Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage. For nearly 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. Give Chris Wiley a call, 619-722-1303, or just go to primeres.com/Alpine. All right, we have another great gear review by our product specialist, Melissa Lee. And what have you got for us today?
I have something very special. Right now I have Bree Michael Warner, and she's the owner, and her handle on Instagram is Tactical NYC. So she's Insta famous, love her, met her at an event at Max Ordinate. She was one of the 2 girls that got the mile-long shot.
Oh, really?
Yes, she did. I was so proud of her. So she has gotten together with Amy Robbins, CEO of Alexo Athletica Leggings, and she has developed a special legging for women for competition, because most leggings, they don't have belt loops. Most of them don't have belt loops for competitor shooters. And women are getting into competitive shooting nowadays.
And they need belt loops.
And we need belt loops. We really do. So, Bree, thank you so much for developing this. Amy, these are great leggings, and safe travels on your trip that you're doing right now. And I know that you're listening in right now. So welcome, Bree.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, it's so nice to talk to you again. Can you tell me, how did you get to develop these leggings? These are great.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear. No, so seriously, like you were saying, finding leggings that have belt loops is very difficult. But more than just the loops, one of the things that I was very frustrated, as you probably know, I'm a firearms instructor in New York. And one of the biggest challenges as a female, not only female shooter, but also as an instructor, is a lot of times my students are always looking for, like, what's the next sort of range gear that's out there. And when it comes to range wear specifically for women, it's always really hard. I tend to find that a lot of times it was always menswear that has just been sized down. And I kind of felt like there was a market for sure, because I had so many women that wanted to get into training, get into competitive shooting, and have range wear that was not only functional and very comfortable, but also it kind of was more designed with a woman in mind. And obviously with this whole legging platform, it's ultra comfortable. Hopefully our goal was to make it super practical. And like you said, it's got the belt loops, but we also made sure that we have compartmentalized pockets that are specifically sewn to accommodate 9mm mags, like pistol mags and rifle mags. And you've got gear loops. You've got all these other features that hopefully will help that experience on the range, whether you're competitive shooting or you're training. It will actually help make that experience that much better.
So I actually put in an AR-15 mag, and I did 2 pistol mags in one side of the leg. So this would be great for 2 gunning, 3 gunning competitors, because you can hold your AR mags and your pistol mags all in your pants on each side of your leg.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly. And that's what I really wanted, because, I was always the person, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I would always have, my holster, and then I would always have those additional, either like a Kydex, some kind of a pistol mag holder on my belt. And, I'm a petite woman, and so I don't have a whole heck of a lot of real estate around my waistline. And I always just felt like there was a lot of stuff sort of in the way. So yes, exactly. What we wanted to do was incorporate pockets that were just more than your standard, here's a slim pocket. This actually has that dual layer, which you can actually double stack it with those pistol and the AR mags. And that to me was I found to be the most exciting portion of it, because I can really I felt like my own Sherpa. I was able to kind of stockpile everything on my body. And I mean, I've used, shot timers on the gear loop. So I really wanted to see how much we can weigh these down. And we're really happy with how they came out. And I'm so thrilled about it.
What I like about this too is that 3-inch reinforced belt loops, because it'll fit the rig belt. The rig fits in there nicely, and there's an extra room. And
awesome. Yep.
With a lot of the belt loops that are out there, they're just too small. They're meant for little, skinny belts. But with a rig, you need extra room.
Nope, exactly. And so that was something too. We wanted to make sure that, the loops actually, served a kind of like you said, a multitude of purposes. If you wanted to wear these, even if you wanted to just wear these as concealed carry, and you want to, maybe wear a holster that does require that belt, you have that option. But like you said for yourself, if you're a competitive shooter and you have a heavier rig for that, that will also accommodate that. So I find that they're super versatile depending on whatever your needs are on the given day.
Yes. And there is a credit card pocket here in the front. What I like about it too, silicone banding, so it does not move on you as you run and gun.
Yes, that was something. So in the past, I've always, I've experienced, at least on the range, that every time I'm drawing from holster and reholstering, over time, over the course of a day, either the leggings start to sort of slide down because of the weight of everything, or I'm finding I'm always either hiking them up, or, whatever sort of undershirt that I've got on that I've got it tucked in. I want to keep that garment sort of away, from the holster, so that I'm not getting caught up and snagged up in any of my garments. And that was something that we thought about when we added that silicone lined waistband. We wanted something that, definitely helped keep those pants up in place and not riding down, but then also kept your shirt, anything that you've got tucked in, it'll also keep that in place as well.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about tucking in your shirts, because you do have to do that when you compete, because you don't want to get anything in the way.
Exactly. And that was always something I was stressed about, having garments, and especially on the leggings, if they start, the leggings start to ride down, and now all of a sudden your shirt starts to ride up, and now, there's always that concern of, are you getting fabric kind of bunched in that area? And you don't want that. You want to be able to make sure that you can operate swiftly, but also safely on the range.
Right. And these are not ugly. These are beautiful leggings. You did a good job with this. These have that moto detail. The moto detail on the knee is fabulous.
Yes.
I love these.
Yes. That was the thing too. My whole philosophy when Amy and I got together and started talking about this, we wanted something that, you really could literally go from your home to the range, and then maybe even out to dinner with, the friends that you went shooting with, because we wanted them to look, not just sort of like tactical, but we also wanted them to look sort of, have a little bit of sex appeal. I mean, sorry, we're women. I like fashion, and I'm not ashamed of that. And to have range wear that I feel like is just fashionable enough to also wear, on my day to day is kind of a plus. I didn't want to look like I was wearing menswear that was sized down.
How do they clean? How do you clean them?
Just
CO1.
wash them in the washer. Yeah. And, we usually recommend, I know with a lot of the Athletica leggings, they usually recommend, sort of hang drying, just so that you retain their shape and everything. But they're totally washer friendly, so they're very easy to maintain.
What about dry cleaning?
Dry cleaning shouldn't be an issue either. I mean, I know, sometimes certain elasticities, I would definitely say, it's always safer to kind of ward against any of the chemicals, because depending on what the chemicals the dry cleaners use, it can affect the elasticity. But, again, it's one of those things where they are super easy to maintain, so there's not a lot of thought process to it.
Gotcha.
What I've noticed about these leggings, too, is that there's these tiny little black loops in each side of the, the bottom of the loops. So these ones are to attach a carabiner. So if you want to hook on your gloves or a shot timer or something like that, you have a place to hang stuff. It's almost like having a little molly, but it's discreet.
Well, because the big loops would be hard to put a carabiner around.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's something, when I would go to the range and say, I was wearing some kind of, typical yoga legging or any kind of pant that, really didn't have any sort of space to put shot timers, I was always like, okay, where am I going to sit this thing? And that was something that we actually thought about with the gear loop, is that we did want to have an ability. Again, I'm like my own Sherpa. I want to be able to carry my shooting gloves with me and not necessarily have to use up the real estate of the pockets. And then, of course, the shot timer, trying to finagle where to sort of hang that on my body if I'm not wearing, like a cargo pant kind of a deal. We wanted to figure out a place for that as well. And we did put them on both sides so that it was ambidextrous. So regardless of whether you're a right-handed or a left-handed shooter, everything has been set up to be ambidextrous. So it really does accommodate, a broad spectrum of shooters.
I'm really impressed at how much thought you put into this for women. And
thank you.
As a competitive shooter myself, it's like you've solved all my problems. I can actually put all my mags and my phone and the shot timer and attach gloves, and carry a form of payment on me all in one. And like you said, it's like a Sherpa. I may be weighed down a lot, but you know what? I can carry everything on my own and I don't need any help.
Well, I think the nice thing, too, is the weight is sort of where things are designed. It's sort of evenly distributed. So even though you can load up a lot, I feel like we really made great effort to not sort of make a certain area sort of the heavy load. So you don't feel like you're out of balance, which is what I also really liked about it. And I have to say, this is something that, I had been dreaming about for quite some time. I got to be honest. Since I began teaching firearms, I was always sort of really, for my own sake, looking for those, great range wear options out there. And I wasn't finding what I really wanted. And then when Amy sort of approached me and Alexo Athletica we started talking about doing this range leg together, then it was just like, oh my gosh, everything, my Christmas wish list sort of came true. And I couldn't be more thrilled, because I feel like this has been a long time coming in my mind, at least. So it's great to actually get to see it now out into the marketplace.
Well, good job,
Hey,
Bree.
Real quick, I just want to tell a real quick story about Bree that was very, very cool. There's a local group called Active Valor that helps with Gold Star families. Yep. And they sponsored a shoot to teach some Gold Star wives. These are wives who lost their husband in combat, how to shoot. And they reached out, and we helped with lunch, and we got them arranged and everything. And I said, well, who's your instructor? And they said, well, do you know who Bree Warner is? I said, yeah, I didn't know she lived in San Diego. And they said, no, she doesn't. She flew in just to do that shoot, that educational shoot for them. And I thought that was very, very cool, Bree. I thought that was a wonderful thing of you to do.
It was, I have to say, hands down, if ever, God put into my path, the thing that I was supposed to do in this next chapter of my life, I am so thankful for meeting Active Valor and getting that opportunity, because that, to me, that day in the range, we're definitely planning, this year was tough with COVID, but we're definitely planning to do more of those sessions. But I have to say, the women that I had the opportunity to train that day, I am so inspired by them, because their fearlessness was just overwhelming. And I am so proud of each of them, because they just did incredibly well. And I just feel really privileged to be part of that. And I'm excited to see, what future classes we can hold for a lot of these women moving forward, especially as we start to phase out, hopefully move forward out of COVID in the near future.
Hey, Bree, tell us real quick, where can everybody get these leggings, and if you have a discount code for us?
Sure. Yes. So you can get them at alexoathletica.com. That is the main website. If you go into their leggings, you're going to see them there. They're called the Athena leggings. You'll see them. They are the moto knees. They've got the range pants. And then as far as the discount code, we do. You can use the discount code Alexo Tactigal 10. So Alexo Tactigal with a G 10, and that will give you a 10% discount off your order.
All right, kid. Hey, thank you very, very much, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you down the road. Well, you know, thousands of new gun buyers just found out what San Diego gun owners already knew. A.O. Sword Firearms in El Cajon has the widest selection of guns in the county. Hundreds of new and used guns in stock, and everything you could want for an AR-15. A.O. Sword is also a professional gunsmith with a full machine shop for cleaning, repairs, upgrades, or customization. Check out A.O. Sword on Facebook or on aosword.com. All right, we have got a very, very special guest on the line, Scott McEwen. He's the author of American Sniper, the Chris Kyle autobiography. Scott grew up in the mountains of eastern Oregon, where he became an Eagle Scout, hiking, fishing, and hunting at every opportunity was presented to him. He obtained his undergraduate degree in Oregon and thereafter studied and worked extensively in London, England. Scott works with and provides support for several military charitable organizations, including SEAL Team Foundation. Scott's interest in military history, intense patriotism, and experience with long-range hunting rifles compelled him to accurately record the battlefield experiences of Chris Kyle, and the most lethal sniper in the United States military history. Hey, how you doing, Scott? Finally got you on the show.
I'm good, Dave. Thank you for having me on.
All right. So how did you get connected with the SEALs? What was that connection there?
Well, in a past life, I used to be a lawyer, and although I'm still a recovering lawyer, and I gave a lot of pro bono, free legal, if you will, help to the Navy SEALs and to families of SEALs that were deployed here in San Diego. And as a result of that, I got to know a few of the guys in the teams pretty well. And one of the guys was Chris Kyle, and I got to know Chris real well. And when I story and the unbelievable things that he'd gone through for this country, I convinced him to write American Sniper, and the rest was history.
Interesting. I mean, that is absolutely fantastic. Now, you were a lawyer. Were you always a writer, an author?
I was not. A book that I wrote was American Sniper, although I obviously did writing on a technical fashion, while being a lawyer. I had never done any recreational or biographical writing before that.
Interesting. How can people find the book? Because I'm sure it's still out there.
Oh, anywhere you want to buy a book, you can find American Sniper. I mean, all your brick and mortar,
Gotcha.
Amazons, Barnes and Nobles, everything like that. They've all got that book, as well as I'm now on my 11th book. My 11th book will be coming out next year.
Yeah, you and I have been talking about it. Can you give a little sneak preview of what it's going to be about?
Yeah, my next book is called Hell Week, and it's really a second-person story of young kids, young men becoming Navy SEALs and going through what many would consider to be the crucible, the most difficult military test in, anywhere in the world, and that is to go through BUDS and Hell Week and become a Navy SEAL. And this book is about the things that I've learned from them, and it has direct relation to, the things that we're going through right now in this country with this whole COVID and everything else that we're experiencing right now with the shutdowns, et cetera. And this is kind of the hell week for this country. And, I give some suggestions for people to get through this because it's a very difficult time for a lot of people.
And there are an awful lot of people looking for help, looking for direction. So what are some of the challenges that you find being pro-USA and Second Amendment in this crazy woke industry?
It's funny, too, because I've done interviews from, New York and Stephanopoulos and Good Morning America to all the stuff when Sniper became huge and then we lost Chris. And, the left wing always criticized, what happened with Chris and kind of used it as their, gotcha moment. And my position was that Chris would never want that, and that, the man believed in, Second Amendment, died for the Second Amendment. And, And, it's a very important thing for me to reinforce that with people that, there's a lot of people that have given their lives to defend our right to defend ourselves. And the day we give that up is the day we become no different than many of these other countries that have fallen into ruin in history. And I believe that the reason this country is as strong as it is because of the Second Amendment and because of the Constitution.
Hey, how did you when you write the books with about the various subjects, especially with the special ops guys? Does it have to go through some kind of check? Does the government have to give its blessing first? Have you ever run into hey, you can't include this chapter because it's classified or something like that? Is that a concern or a process you have to go through?
Well, it's more than a concern. It's an absolute. Anytime you write nonfiction, i.e. factual accounts of any member of the military, particularly Navy SEALs, that have served in active combat or in the military, actually any military engagements, you must submit the book to the Department of Defense. There are strict procedures for doing so. And if you don't do so, I know of personally guys that have not done it, and they've had the entirety of their book receipts seized by the federal government, which is one option the federal government has, or the second option they have is to prosecute you for not stuff. My 11th will be coming out this coming year, and it's been an amazing run, and I'm just happy that I still have some heroes that contact me on a regular basis that want to have their stories written, and I have a wealth of information and stories that I get to go through, and there's still men out there, and I think people better realize and remember that while we've kind of drawn down on a few of these wars out there, there's still guys out there doing this job every day and got boots in the ground in harm's way, and those are the guys that I try to support.
All right, buddy. Hey, I'll see you at Bonji's in about 45 minutes.
All right, we'll talk to you later, Dave.
All right.
I had real quick. I told my dad was on subs a lot. I watched this really cool documentary, and I was talking to him on the phone. I said, "Hey, Dad, you know how we have these listening devices all across the Pacific Ocean so that we can hear the Russians?" And he goes, "What? No, that's ridiculous. We don't have anything like that. That's ridiculous." I said, "Dad, I just saw a documentary about it," and he goes, "Oh, all right, yeah, we have that."
Well, they pound it in you in the military, right? Yep. Dwight? I mean, they'll tell you what to say and what not to say, and if you say it, you won't like the repercussions, and it's not peeling potatoes, that's for sure.
Well, I appreciate the professionalism.
I'm sure you do. All right, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Gun Owners Radio right here on FM 96.1. The Coalition is a partner. Firearms Policy Coalition has been on fire, filing a ton of lawsuits here in California and across the nation to protect your Second Amendment. Together, we are working on all levels to restore your self-defense rights, so we need you to join Firearms Policy Coalition now. People, they are making things happen. FPC just filed a petition for the Holloway versus Barr case to be heard by the Supreme Court. This could be the first Second Amendment case heard by the Supreme Court in over a decade. They need our help. Become a member today by visiting their website, firearmspolicy.org.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
But this song, this is exactly what we were talking about in the second segment here when we were talking about rock and roll as a kid, making me pro-gun. That was Enter Sandman by Metallica. You guys remember what was on the cover of that album?
It was a snake.
It was the Gadsden flag snake. They had a song on there called Don't Tread on Me.
Yeah.
They had another song on there called Of Wolf and Man, which was about hunting. And anyway, perfect example. I think Brendan planned that. It's like he dug into my brain.
He does.
I don't know about that, but
Good job.
Hey, we're going to have our very special guest, Dwight, ask the question. Sam, are you there?
Sam the Gunman.
Yeah, how are you guys?
We're doing wonderful. And so Dwight is going to ask the question. Are you ready, sir?
Yes, I am.
All right, go for it.
All right, Sam, from Mona and Escondido. Question. In 1964, the M16 entered military service, with the Air Force being the first branch to adopt the AR variant. Visually, what is the most obvious design difference between the AR the AF adopted and the M16A1, all branches adopted?
Thanks very much for writing in, Mona. And this is a really interesting question with a lot of background that I just don't have the time to go into. But as the question states, the United States Air Force was the first branch to adopt an AR-15 variant for official use. They actually did so at the personal request of Curtis LeMay, who had the opportunity to try one out at a garden party and enjoyed it so thoroughly that he tried to place an order right then and there. Now, the Air Force AR-15s, I believe most of them were Colt Model 602s, are visually distinctive because they have green furniture and lack a forward assist or any provision for one.
The answer is forward assist for the Bolt. You're exactly right. There was no forward assist on the original.
Correct!
No. For those of you who don't know, a forward assist is that button protruding from the right side of the receiver of an AR pattern firearm. It is designed to force the bolt into battery. The reason the Air Force didn't want them was because during the initial testing of the AR-15, which had been designed without one, they encountered no failures that could have been remedied by forcing the action closed. So even after the forward assist was added by the U.S. Army on later AR variants, the Air Force still required that their rifles would be provided with no forward assist.
The only time I've ever used a forward assist, Dwight, have you ever actually used the forward assist on an AR for any particular?
Never.
Yeah, never, right? Okay, so the only time I've ever actually used the forward assist is I was taking a 4-day class, and they would teach to, do a chamber check, make sure you got a bullet in there. And I always felt like, okay, it didn't really slam forward, right? When you pull it back just far enough to see if there's a bullet in the chamber, it didn't really slam forward. So I'd always hit that forward assist a couple of times. I don't think it actually ever did anything, but it made me feel really good. So that's
That's a big part of why the Army kept the forward assist on after requesting that it be added, is because they actually went out and said that it made soldiers feel better, or they thought it made soldiers feel better to have the ability to, I guess turn a failure to feed into a much more difficult to remedy failure to extract, whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say we used it a couple of times just because there was nothing else to do. The jam was so bad from a double feed that it was like, well, let's beat on it and see if this works because it's on here. But seriously, that was the only time we had used it. It never did anything.
And I know there's some. Sam? Do you know any companies that are actually making ARs like off the shelf? What do they call? What's the nickname for for no forward assist? What do they call those?
Slick side uppers.
Yeah, I know he'd know. Okay, so what are there any manufacturers? Any manufacturers that are making slick sides right off the shelf?
I know there are a handful of boutique manufacturers that offer complete rifles without them because it saves a little bit of weight and bulk. But if you want to build your own, Aero Precision does make a slick side upper. I've ordered a couple of those, and they're still on back order. I'm waiting for them to ship. I think Anderson also makes a slick side upper, but it's Anderson, so your mileage may vary. I'm sure there are a few others, but I know Aero Precision is a good one.
So Dwight is with Seal One, the cleaner lubricant. Have you used Seal One?
I have not, but I've heard nothing but good things about it.
All right. Well, there's your homework for the week. You got to go try some Seal One.
All right.
Since he wasn't able to stump you with Mona's question.
Right. Do you sell on the East Coast?
Good question.
Yeah, our factory's in Maine.
His factory's in Maine.
Yeah.
Right up the street from you.
It's not so much right up the street from me. It's about as much as Aero Precision is up the street from you. But I guess you guys are pretty close to Wyndham Weaponry, aren't you?
Yes, they're not far, and they use the product.
Oh, very nice.
We'll get you hooked up and see if you can.
Does your shop carry it?
No, I know we have break-free CLP. We've been getting some other stuff lately. I don't remember what it is, but we pretty much stock whatever we can find in this environment.
Well, this is biodegradable. It's not toxic in any way, shape, or form. and it comes in 3 spray, paste, and
The liquid.
the liquid.
So there you go.
All right. Sounds good.
We'll get you some.
All right, Sam. Well, excellent job, man. As always.
As always.
I don't think that was an easy question. I don't think that's an easy question, right? Did you guys know? Did anybody know without looking?
Made it sound simple.
Yeah, I really don't think that's an easy question. Now, we stumped you last week. Well, first time in a long time. But that was not an easy question. You didn't have it, prior, but I knew when I saw it, I knew you were going to get it.
Yeah, I did too. That's how bad it is. We already know when you're going to get them. We just don't know when you're not. That's all. All right, buddy. Have a good week, and we will talk to you next week.
All right. See you in a week.
All right, folks. So, hey, if you're listening on YouTube or on the podcast, smash that like button and subscribe button as well, and share the show with your friends. And please support all our great sponsors. And if you have questions or concerns about our show, don't hesitate to go to gunownersradio.com and give us some information on to what you're thinking about. You really want to thank San Diego County Gun Owners, U.S. Law Shield, Cali Key, the Dillon Law Group, A.O. Sword Firearms Store, Firearms Policy Coalition, Seal One, PRMI Mortgage, and our newest partner, National Concealed Carry Association. And don't forget to set a reminder for next week's show. Clint Smith from Thunder Ranch will be joining us, and you don't want to miss that one. And I really, really want to thank Michael Schwartz, Joe Germisi, Melissa Lee, Sam the Gunman, and our digital master, Brendan Thomas. And Dwight, we really thank you for coming in and hanging out with us. It's been a blast.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You might get me to clean my guns. So for any other information, all our podcasts, go to gunownersradio.com. And don't forget to check in and tell all your friends. And now we're on YouTube. So get on that YouTube channel and find us. You go to
youtube.com/gunownersradio.
Bingo. Super easy. All right, guys. Mr. Siegel is coming up next, and I'm sure he has got tons to talk about. I have a sneaky feeling he watched the Trump last night, and I'm sure he'll have a few things to say about that right here on Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Gun Owners Radio.